This is an adaptation of the Avengers issue number 6. It's quite the adaptation because despite being based on an Avengers comic, Giant Man and the Wasp are nowhere to be found. In the original comic, they were key players in the story, but for now, just go with it.
On a mysterious mission, a lone plane flies over a wild, uncharted South American jungle, landing in an almost inaccessible canyon. Slowly, the pilot approaches a masked monarch seated upon a crude jungle throne.
If there's a runway, a throne, and all that, somebody charted it. Yes, that's Zemo, the Nazi scientist who killed Bucky.
These latest scientific journals still give me no clue to the removal of Formula X. Am I doomed to wear this accursed hood forever?
You never told me how that hood got pasted to your head, Zemo, or why you've hidden in the jungle all these years.
For that matter, he never told us either. He's not that inclined to talk about it, but something in one of the magazines changed his mind.
Wait, what's this? Captain America still lives?
What's Captain America to you?
He is the one responsible for my wearing this accursed hood. I remember it as if it were yesterday.
That's right, it's origin story flashback time.
I was the greatest scientist of the war, inventing every type of weapon for mass destruction. I concealed my true identity beneath this hood to save me from my victim's vengeance.
The basic balaclava type hood had been around for over 100 years, but he was too special to wear the same thing as everybody else. He chose to go for the Saticon look.
I was developing my greatest weapon, a powerful adhesive foam, so strong nothing could tear it apart.
We don't find out what he intends to do with his super adhesive because he won't get a chance to use it.
Zemo, I know about the infernal adhesive you are creating and how you plan to use it.
Don't throw that shield! No!
Dare I say it, Zemo has a valid case. If Cap had thrown the shield at him instead of at that container, it would have taken the bad guy down without drenching him in his own solution. The hood has been stuck to his face ever since, and none of his research has come up with an antidote. It's driven him a little bananas.
Later I had my revenge and thought I had destroyed Captain America. Now I must find him.
I thought I had my revenge, and why didn't you tell me I'm standing on a fire ant hill? He tells his pilot to contact the Masters of Evil and give them instructions. They're to draw Captain America out into the open where Zemo can deal with him. Who are the Masters of Evil? And even assuming that's what they are, why would you give yourselves a name that announces it to the world so people can be prepared to deal with you?
A few days later, the residents of New York are startled to see a figure mounted upon a flying stallion, spraying powerful adhesive foam on everything that moves.
This ought to bring Captain America on the run, as Zemo planned.
If that's the same glue Zemo used on himself, what does he propose to do now? With the whole city stuck to itself forever and ever, amen, what good is it to him?
Then another menacing figure suddenly appears on the streets, melting whatsoever he points at.
Run! It's the mysterious melter!
The melter is a guy with a powerful laser beam that melts metal. That's his bit. Once he has the populace on the run, he pulls out a pair of guns and sprays the adhesive all over the place so the populace isn't running anymore.
Then the third menace summoned by Zemo makes his appearance. The uncanny radioactive man.
Zemo wants to bring Captain America into the open. That's why he summoned the Black Knight, the Melter, and me.
Starring everybody and me.
There have been several radioactive mans over the decades, but this was the first. He was a Chinese scientist who slowly exposed himself to radiation until he absorbed enough of it to become one giant tumor, to become this. He can control all manner of radiation from gamma rays to visible light, and he can throw bolts of radiation at his adversaries. At the moment, he's spraying the adhesive all over the city like the other two are, and they pretty well have most of Manhattan paralyzed. It's working. Captain America is headed for them. But I think Zemo anticipated internet culture. If he had read the article instead of just the headline, he might have known that Cap isn't alone.
At his side are two of the mightiest costumed crime smashers of all time. Mighty Thor, son of Odin, god of thunder, who possesses the magic Uru hammer. And the Iron Man, mighty master of mechanized science.
Powerful allies indeed. But which one of them brought the acetone?
Look, it's the radioactive man.
I'm closest. I'll get him. Surprised, Thor? Have you forgotten how my radioactive body can repulse your hammer?
These villains were chosen carefully. Radioactive Man is immune to Thor's hammer, and the Melter can destroy Iron Man's armor, while the Black Knight can fly.
Now I'll trap you forever with Zemo's adhesive.
You missed. No, he didn't. It hit my knee. I'm pinned to the ground, helpless. I've seen this adhesive before. It's the work of Zemo. He must still be alive.
Yes, that's what Radioactive Man just said. Maybe you should snip those little wings off your hood so you can hear better. Iron Man says, "Don't worry, Cap. I'll get you loose."
Halt, Iron Man! Have you forgotten me?
It's the Melter. He's the only one with the power to damage my iron armor.
Take your shoe off, Cap. Tear a hole in your spandex knee and get moving. He won't think of that. All three Avengers have been neutralized.
I'm going to cut a section out of the pavement with the power jets in my shoes. I'll take you to my lab and see if we can find an antidote for this adhesive of Zemo's.
Zemo invented it, and presumably he's been seeking an antidote for close to 25 years. You're going to find one in 25 minutes. You know the worst part? He probably will.
Iron Man, look, that tow truck ahead of us. I'll hold on to the tow chain while you drive.
Okay, hang on.
It's working. It's just like water skiing on dry land.
I got nothing.
Captain America has escaped.
Zemo's plan wasn't as perfect as he thought.
Quiet, you fool. Don't let the master hear you. Look, he's coming now.
Don't be surprised. Zemo heard about these new things called helicopters and decided to build one. But he couldn't get his hands on any actual plans, so he had to devise his own. He may have gotten a little carried away in the details. In any case, Captain America got away, and Zemo is not happy.
Sorry, Zemo, but they must have carried Captain America away.
You let him escape? But we'll recapture him before they find a solution for Adhesive X.
A solution for Adhesive X? I never thought of that.
You cannot be serious. If I was in his situation, I wouldn't be thinking of anything else. I'd be in my lab 36 hours a day, 12 days a week, looking for a workable solvent to get that thing off me. He never thought of it? He must have inhaled a fair amount of fumes, too.
With such a solution, I could finally remove this hood from my head. I must have it. I must.
Something I did not anticipate. My adhesive turned the street to lava. Quick, find me a chair to leap on.
At Stark Industries, Iron Man is trying everything he can find to break down this glue. Emphasis on trying. Succeeding, not so much.
The adhesive goes right through the fiber. I can't even remove my boots.
I guess that answers that question. Can they just bust up all the pavement under him and get him loose that way?
I have an idea. Paste Pot Pete.
Who's Paste Pot Pete?
Paste Pot Pete was an early foe of the Human Torch. He carried a glue gun with a hose attached to a filthy pail of glue. I found it hard to take him seriously. Later on, he streamlined his costume and equipment and adopted the name the Trapster. But right now, he's prison inmate number so-and-so.
He's the world's greatest authority on pastes and adhesives, and he owes me a favor. Perhaps he can dissolve Adhesive X.
He's the world's leading authority on such things. If anybody can come up with a formula to break this stuff down, he's the man. Just how good is he, you ask?
If this super dissolver works, I'm going to name Paste Pot Pete and I will.
He's so good he already had a barrel of it. All he had to do was toss it to Iron Man, so our hero didn't even have to land. I don't know if he actually wrote Pete into his will, but Iron Man did the next best thing. He got him paroled. That'll happen somewhere off screen, possibly not even in this story.
Cap, you're free.
Now we must strike back at the Masters of Evil.
Easy, Thor. I have a better idea. We're going to pull the big switch and let Zemo's men themselves undo the damage they've done to the city.
At that flying soft-boiled egg holder of Zemo's, he's refilling the adhesive container so his henchmen can head off for another round. He's confident that he has the upper hand, so nobody's standing guard.
Seconds later, the Masters of Evil grab the cylinders which they think contain Adhesive X.
Go! Let the world see the awesome power of Zemo.
They already did. Now they get to see the awesome power of Paste Pot Pete.
Nothing's wrong. The spray is freeing those already trapped. But how? Thor's hammer. He caught me off guard, but he won't get a second chance. He doesn't suspect my innocent-looking lance is a secret arsenal of deadly weapons.
No matter what your mortal weapon fires, my whirling hammer can deflect it with ease.
By this time, most everybody in New York should know who and what Thor is. This guy thinks he's going to take him down with bullets.
Bah! I have no need to reload my stun ray. Most effective at close range. Now my paralysis gun will... What? How did he recover so quickly?
Because that little toy probably didn't affect him at all. He's a god, duh.
My patience is ended. Your stallion shall take to the sky once more as he flies you to the nearest prison.
That's not exactly how our justice system works, but if nothing else, they can hang on to him until the proper authorities can take charge of him and hold him for trial. We are nothing if not flexible.
The more I spray, the more victims I set free.
No, I don't know why they were climbing the wall to begin with.
That's how we planned it, mister. The party's over.
Captain America, you dare to confront me?
My shield will stand against any foe when liberty and justice are threatened.
Nice speech, but he knows it's a bluff. If that guy throws a radiation bolt at him, his shield won't be enough to protect him. He can't throw his shield like he usually does, because if Radioactive Man receives any kind of violent hit, he'll explode and destroy the whole city. Dude, do us all a big favor and be very careful crossing the street. But Cap only intends to do one thing with his shield.
Missed him again.
As I said, Cap is only going to do one thing with his shield, get him and it out of the way.
But my beam struck something.
Good work, Cap. That took a lot of nerve. Now I'll carry the ball.
Iron Man, Zemo warned me about you and your tricks.
Good. Let me demonstrate my latest. It's a transistor-powered spool of lead foil I invented to protect atomic scientists against radiation. It seeks out and completely envelops anything radioactive.
It wraps him up nicely without violence. Something to notice, they're beating these guys by essentially switching enemies. Where Thor can't defeat Radioactive Man, Iron Man can stop him with technology. Where Captain America can't stop the Black Knight, Thor can. It's all about teamwork and finding the best way to do the thing.
Then I attach this inflatable lead-covered balloon, and while you dangle up there, you'll have lots of time to meditate about what it means to defy the forces of law and order.
I won't say it. That just leaves the melter.
You've not won yet, Iron Man. You must defeat all the Masters of Evil, which is impossible.
mysterious melter. The only one with the power to destroy my armor.
Well, the way we've been doing this round robin, you shouldn't be facing him anyway. Captain America should. Get out of there.
This will be your last challenge, Iron Man.
I outsmarted him. He did it. His blast struck just where I hoped it would hit.
My melting beam! It no longer works!
Without your melting ability, mister, you're just another guy named Joe.
Actually, his name was Bruno, but we won't quibble. This is what happens when you're a one-trick pony. Take away your one trick, and suddenly you're just standing there with your bare face hanging out. It's time for the showdown. Zemo versus Captain America.
See what a karate blow in the hands of a master can do.
My mighty karate blows will destroy every trash can in the city and spread garbage everywhere.
Zemo can never lose.
This is no helpless victim of tyranny whom you're taunting now, Zemo. This is Captain America. Look into my eyes, tyrant. They're the eyes of a man who would die for liberty. Never again will you mistake mercy for weakness.
But intervention is coming from an unexpected source, Zemo's pilot.
The Master will reward me handsomely for this.
But the battle-trained reflexes of Captain America had warned him to swerve when he heard the pistol hammer click. So the deadly bullet merely grazed his skull.
Good work. Quickly, we must escape while we can.
What about our three allies?
Ah, they have already served their purpose. Now that Captain America is dead, I go home in triumph.
Cap is worried that Zemo is getting away, but he forgets that he has friends in high places. Really high places, like Asgard.
Spin, my mighty mallet. Spin, and create an all-consuming space warp. A space warp big enough to absorb Zemo's entire ship and the merciless beings within it.
Thor, what did you do? What will become of Zemo and his ship?
You care because...
None can say. A space warp can lead anywhere. To a different country, a different continent, or even a different universe.
It didn't send them to a different universe. We know that because they'll all be back in later comics. It's really hard to figure out the timeline here because in an earlier episode, Zemo was killed in a rock slide. Somebody in charge didn't care much about continuity. We saw that when Cap tracked Zemo down and got his revenge, then got thawed out and awakened in the 60s and all that. The stories for the most part are taken straight out of the comics like this one, but not only were we missing a couple of important characters, everything is out of sequence and we encounter a villain who's already dead. And now that that's out of the way, it was pretty clever of the Avengers to switch foes and it gave them a strong upper hand. Well, except for the Melter, he kind of took care of himself. He's the one I found least believable. He built this cool melting ray, but rather than sell it to 100 salvage yards and make a fortune, he uses it to commit crimes. Worse, New York is a coastal seaport city. It sits on the confluence of two major rivers and a naturally protected bay. He doesn't think to make his gadget waterproof, so the first time he trips and falls in the East River, his weapon is a fizzle. Just think, next time he appears, the Melter could face off against his most dangerous foe, his own clumsy feet.
When Captain America throws his mighty shield, all those who chose to oppose his shield must yield. If he's led to a fight and a duel is due, then the red and the white and the blue will come through when Captain America throws his mighty shield.
Open where enough to, because if radio macked it, 100 salvage yards and make a fortune. Salvage yards, not salvid, with your bare face hanging out. And there's more.